Get the common trope of a father figure caring for and going through a journey with a child, but sprinkle in some AI. That is the creator. Hi, I'm Jesse.
And I'm Addie.
And this film follows Joshua, played by John David Washington, Denzel Washington's son, did an amazing job, who is caught in the middle of a war with AI machines. They have a weapon up their sleeve to help them in the war. That weapon, a child. Now, let me say, for this being the only IMDb credit this kid has, they did an amazing job. I loved how they portrayed themselves on screen.
They're just a baby. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting sci-fi flick. Definitely beautifully shot, but it left a little to be desired in the plot, for me, at least.
You're not alone. This isn't like the reviews so far, at least critic reviews, haven't been like super raving. So you're not alone on that one. Now, I've got to say, this movie for me was emotionally riveting. We see the machines running around, screaming in agony, carrying children, running as they're running away from danger, and having a moral compass, which was interesting. It gives them this extra sense of humanity, which made it just that extra bit more emotional instead of just, meh, shut them off, they're robots, which is the way the villain feels in this film, and they're goons, right? Everybody is kind of just like, they're robots, they're programming, just shut them off. Like, we have to win this, it's either them or us. But the way this movie is shot and portrayed, and it gives you a sense of like, no, these robots are alive. They're almost human beings. They're basically there, you know?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting considering that most movies that we see with robots portray them as like the bad people, the bad entity, the bad thing. It's always AI wanting to take over the world, which I went into the movie with that kind of mindset. And like it kind of did seem that way for a little bit, and then they like switch it up on you, and at the end of the movie you start feeling bad for the robots. Which is weird because they are just metal. Like, I wouldn't feel bad if my phone broke. I would feel bad for me because I would have to pay for a new phone, but I wouldn't feel bad for the actual like thing itself. So that was interesting. I think that's exactly why they wanted to use a child robot for, their weapon to, put humans in this predicament of like, it's not just a person, but it's literally a child. Are you really going to hurt a child?
Yeah, and that's an interesting way to put it because Joshua goes through those stages in the movie. He starts off with just like, I don't care about the thing. It's like, get away from me.
Yeah.
And then like, wait, hold up, I need you.
Yeah.
And then slowly caring for this child, which is, again, goes back to that trope that we see in The Last of Us, The Mandalorian, Logan, Stranger Things.
It's just a burly man adopting a scared orphaned child, taking it under its wing.
And for the kid, it's almost kind of like Stockholm syndrome, I think it's called, right? Where like you
fall in love with your captor,
which not fall in love, but like you, in this case, care about them, and you see the kid not want to leave Joshua's side, despite it knowing that itself is not human, and Joshua is. So that was very well done. I like that. Another one of my favorite things about this movie is the art direction. It is simply stunning. Like, seeing the trailers for this film, I knew what I was walking into, and then actually seeing it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, coming from the world of concept art myself and being an artist, this world looks like it's lived in and alive, and that they fully just trusted their concept artists and went with what they told them. Like, if you went into ArtStation and started scrolling through, it's like you just grabbed everything from ArtStation and threw it up on the big screen, and it looks amazing. I absolutely loved it. It looked gorgeous.
Yeah, I will say it gave me the same like feelings or vibes, kind of like Dune, where it's like this very thought out, crafted world, and like they do these like widescreen or like zoomed out shots where like you see like the entire city line or like the ocean with like the rocks or something, and like it makes you feel small but also dystopian at the same time. So I thought that was interesting. I also liked how they incorporated a lot of like Asian cultures, since the country where the robots, the AI, went to like save themselves is called New Asia. They incorporated a lot of like Asian motifs, and they incorporated like the cultural architecture. So I thought that was like a nice little touch that they added in at the end.
Yeah, I like how you see, especially like you go to the different regions and you see the machines wearing and adopting the like attire of that area, right? So if you're like in an urban zone, there you don't just see robots willy nilly. Like some of them, there's two kinds. There's synthetics, and then there's just plain old robots. And both of them, the regular old robots, sometimes you'll see them just plain, but other times you'll see them clothed as well, which is like nice. It goes to show just like how much thought was put into it, and just saying like, hey, like these robots are actually like have more thought than you think to them. You know, they don't just walk around and just like, I'm just a robot, I'm here to do this XYZ thing. You know, they're actually choosing to dress themselves. So it goes to show there's a little bit more to them than just their programming.
Yeah, it's like one step further from Star Wars, where they're literally just C-3PO. It's like, I am a machine.
I don't think, if at all, no, we do see robots sometimes in Star Wars wearing capes, but I think that's the best we get. But yeah, again, to mention that, if you don't already know, but this was directed by Gareth Edwards, which had the pleasure of directing Rogue One, which at first was not so well received, and then now it's become like a cult classic by everybody, and everybody in the Star Wars community realizes how good that film actually is.
Too early
but
for its time.
Yeah, it's got a lot of that same cinematography, that beautiful, just like like you mentioned right now, like that pulled away. You get to absorb the environment and really take it all in and see its beauty. You know, and you got a lot of big monolithic structures, giant ships that are these one big piece, and it doesn't have a lot of they're not called, they're geebles, I forgot. There's a term for it in 3D modeling, when you have all these little pieces popping out. That's what Star Wars does. So like, just have little pieces that look like there's a bunch of modules on the ship. But like, for example, the big like winged looking ship in this movie is just like, it's plain. It's got this clean aesthetic to it, which a lot of things in the movie do. Ultimately, this movie kind of poses a question about whether AI is sentient or not. We see them go through full ranges of emotion and be almost indistinguishable from humans, except for some of their physical attributes. Programming or not, this movie made me feel like those robots had a soul, and it felt terrible seeing them die in the movie. There's one scene in particular where they're all like being crushed, and one of them like trying to crawl its way out, reaching, and I was like, is it bro? Touching? I was like, that felt like seeing a puppy die. I don't know, for me, like, but that's just how I felt, that like the movie just did it so good. You know, it's
that was also like quite at the beginning.
It was, but it's still like, by that point in time, there had been another event already when they're doing a cleanup. Remember? Okay, and so like that already kind of got me thinking, like it got me in that position of feeling that way.
Yeah, it took me a little longer.
If you watch, you compare it to like another movie, maybe like iRobot. It's probably something that's kind of similar. iRobot is a good action flick, but it doesn't make you feel that way, despite it being like, oh, it's very different, right?
Yeah,
but yeah, exactly. And this movie makes you feel more like these robots have a soul, and it makes you want to feel bad for harming them. So yeah, that's how it made me feel.
Yeah, it took me a little while. I guess I eventually got there at the end, but I would say it took about like 70% of the movie to be like, okay, I guess we're feeling bad for the robots.
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of like hyped you up into this movie being exclusively about like, this is a war against like AI machines.
And bad. I was like, let's go. And then I was like, oh, machines aren't bad now.
I guess I gotta feel bad for the machine. But yeah, everybody who portrayed a synthetic, especially like, there's a couple of them who are like front of the line. You know, they're the ones who are synthetics and mostly shown throughout the movie. They do a great job. Some of them are actors who have worked with Gareth before, and you can see why he chooses them. They do a really great job at portraying emotion on screen. So absolutely loved it. But yeah, I guess ready to move on to ratings.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of want to give it a solid 10, but I don't know. Wow. I just really, this is kind of like,
wow.
I didn't like feel like super hyped up or anything for like for like action scenes or anything, but this almost felt kind of like if it was Avatar for me, right? But I don't know. It was for what it was. It had just so much emotion that I was like, wow, like I didn't think this movie was gonna have this much emotion. But I think I'll tone it down and give it a 9 because I don't think it's perfect. You know, I think maybe if I give it a couple more watches, I'll probably see some, you know, blemishes on the surface. But I think the movie was stunning. It was amazing. It was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. So 9 out of 10 for me. Definitely must watch. I wish if our theater had a much nicer IMAX, I would have definitely booked this in IMAX. But at least I got Dolby, and I think there was only if you did the preview showing, we would have gotten Dolby. Because if not, I think this weekend the only thing available was regular like screen showings, like just digital. And I was super bummed out because I didn't want to do IMAX because our IMAX is crap. But if you can see this in IMAX, I highly recommend it. Some of these beautiful like war scenes in the film would look simply amazing on IMAX.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll be a bummer. I think I'm gonna go with like a 6 out of 10.
You're being a real critic right now. You're lining up with a lot of other critics.
Visually, it was stunning. If it was just like on visuals alone, like that would get a much higher score. But I thought the like story and plot was like basic. It's just apart from the trope of being like man sees lonely child, baby bird. It was just another like one country is mad at another country for something that they don't like, and then they're trying to go stop the thing that they don't like, and then the nice people of that country are trying to retaliate. And then it's also another similar movie storyline where it's just like everybody hates machines, the machines just want to live. So it just felt very repetitive in that aspect. I will say the one thing that I did enjoy, or not enjoy, but I thought was surprising was the fact that they did use like a kid as the baby robot who saves the world. Because, I don't know, I thought it was just interesting that they like make you question like, oh, it's not just a human, it's also a baby. And now you have an ethical dilemma in every which way. So yeah, 6 out of 10. I definitely do think it's a good watch. There was just too much going on for me.
Yeah, when you do put it that way, it is. I can see why it is not like certified fresh right now. Maybe it will get certified fresh later once it like gets its full release. We are barely in previews right now, but if you look at it that way, then yeah, it's a pretty normal story that we've seen already. It's not that original, but I guess the execution is.
You could say it's just like an earthly version of Star Wars. They're just all trying to kill each other for a reason or another.
We see it everywhere though. It's kind of like the Avatar movies. You know, the first Avatar is just your typical like Western, where you know the white man is going to take over the Native Americans' land. Yeah, kind of thing.
But so again, similar. I think that's just like an overplayed like movie plot line. And I don't think they brought on much more extra that could have made it more interesting. They spent all their budget on
that's a good thing to talk about because I mean their budget was only I think 80 million, which is not a lot. So it's like I think they
can just fork it over here.
They use their budget very well. Like it's not I don't think by any means a Star Wars or a Marvel budget in any way, shape, or form, which upon first glance, you would think it is. They would have had that kind of Marvel budget or something, but they didn't. I mean, for what they had, if I'm correct, I think it was 80. They did an amazing job and they spent it. Job well done and they spent it well. So, yeah. We shall see how audiences react once this movie gets its full release. But for now, if you've seen it, which by the time this video goes up, I'm sure more people will have seen it, let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Till next time.